Welcome to the Art of Badassery, where I explore what it takes to live life on your own terms, break free from the status quo, and unleash your inner badass. Whether you're a rebel at heart or simply seeking inspiration to step outside your comfort zone, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Mahara Wayman, and each week I dive into the stories, insights, and strategies of those who have mastered the art of badassery and are living life to the fullest. They smile when no one is looking. Welcome to the Art of Badassery podcast. My name is Mahara, and I'm so excited to share with you my guest today. Her name is Kellina Powell. She is a dynamic advocate and coach empowering the deaf community. Despite losing her hearing at age 4, she didn't let that slow her down. Kalina earned a psychology degree from York University, a diploma in mental health and addiction, and became a certified life coach. She's also an international speaker and best-selling author of Every Day I Am Just Deaf. Her mission? Well, it's to inspire young adults with disabilities to pursue their dreams no matter the obstacles. Can you say badass? Kalina, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited.
We're going to have a great conversation. Let's go back to the beginning. And can you share with us one of the first times that you felt badass?
Yeah, so it all started when my disability counselor doubted me because she didn't want me to be success. I told her I wanted to be a doctor, and she, quote, forgot to put my grades in for post-secondary. And so what I did was I took a year back in high school to improve my grades and make sure I have everything I need before I go into post-secondary. So I finally, worked my butt off. I finally got accepted into the number one school that I would actually want to get into. And I went into the office and I showed it to her and I said, listen, this is what you get for disrespecting somebody, and don't just identify someone who they are just because they have a disability.
I'm curious, what was her reaction?
Her reaction was shocked because she didn't think I would able to do it.
Yeah. It's a sad but true that many components of our world, I don't know if it's because we don't know enough about people's disabilities or they frighten us. Maybe you can share with us your thoughts on why it was so easy for her to do that for you.
Because again, she was not educated. That's number one. Number two, she never took the time to understand what my strength was or what my struggle was. Had a guidance counselor. You have so many children you're looking after. You're doing so many things. So she never really took the time to truly understand why I'm applying for post-secondary. She didn't understand my reason. And I feel like a lot of time people, when they don't know what they know, they just assume. And I feel like with her, she just assumed what's best for me without having that conversation.
Good call out. Assumptions, man. They do not work in any situations. I've learned that the hard way myself. When you think back on your lifetime, though, have there been any assumptions that you've made about yourself that you realize, wait a second?
A lot, there's so many. Even for myself, I would say when I started my business, for example, I really didn't think my business was going to kick off, to be honest with everyone that's listening. And I knew I wanted to do more impact in the world, especially for youth. And the first thing I did with my business, I actually wrote a book. And it's called Every Day I Am Just That. And I didn't think my book was going to become a bestseller author for like a couple months after I published my book. A friend of mine messaged me like, "Oh my God, you're the bestseller." I'm like, "No, I'm not." She's like, "Yes, you are. Look." And so I was not expecting that at all. I was very like, "Oh my God, I don't think this was gonna kick off," because I'm a lot of disability community. We've been overlooked a lot of time. So this was definitely a big win for me.
Well, congratulations on that. Tell us a bit about the book. It's a great title. What's it all about?
Yeah, so my book is a poetry book. It's about me being deaf daily basis. It's only 100 pages, so don't freak out, guys. It's not a chapter book, I promise you. And yeah, it's really educating people what it's like to be deaf, how can we learn, and how can we be a better advocate an ally for the disability community, especially for someone who's deaf as well.
What's been the biggest thing you've learned about yourself after putting out this book?
I had to learn how to separate myself and my emotion, especially poetry book. You're learning so much about your emotion and reflecting how you felt. I feel like a lot of time we don't do a lot of reflection, especially noticing how far we come. Yeah.
Self-reflection is key to growth. And truly, I think it's key to being a badass because you are willing and have the courage to ask the questions, the tough questions. Oh my God, why am I feeling this way? Why did I let that person bug me? Why is this triggering me? And on and on and on. Okay, so you went to post-secondary. What were some of the challenges that you faced there as a non-hearing student?
As a student, I challenged so many. I realized that high school does not prepare you for the real world. That was number one. Number two, I didn't realize how strict the professor was. So they were strict but not strict. They only look at you as a number, right? And that's something I had to learn because I was trying to ask for accommodation. I never asked my teacher for accommodation. It was always the IEP teacher that does it for me. But now I'm in university, I have to do it by myself. And I was terrified because I didn't know if I was going to be accommodated the same way as I did in high school. And so that was something I had to learn was to advocate for myself consistently with professors. I had to be independent. I did not have someone back me up besides a disability counselor. But however, at university, they have so many students once again, more than high school students, right? My disability counselor, there's so much support, did a lot for me until one day I had a very difficult professor. He felt uncomfortable having a microphone to wear during lecture. He thought I was going to record the lecture and then sell it.
Wow.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that because you'd be like, why would I sell it if I'm hard of hearing and like I'm deaf and I have a note taker? And so my disability counselor was very upset because I wouldn't pass in the class because it was a music class. So he ended up failing me, and my disability counselor took it to the head department to get that grade dropped because he was not accommodated. And so there's a policy that you need to accommodate every student when the student asks you. So, yeah.
Sure, I understand because as a hearing person, I may not be seeing the connection. You wanted to record his lecture so that you could look closely at his mouth as he was talking?
So it's because sometimes when I don't have a note taker in the classroom, right? So it's because the lecture is big. So when I want to record it, I can't see his lips sometimes. So when I have it on my system, like an iPad, for example, or my cell phone, I can follow along.
Right. Yeah. Recording is so that you can see his lips better.
No, so there's a microphone and then there's the recording session itself. So some professors don't feel comfortable in a microphone, so I just record the lecture so that way I can just follow along in case if I can't read his lips. Because think about it, the lecture is a movie theater, right? The movie theater is big, so I can't see from far, especially if the classroom is so full or if I'm late for class because I was in another class.
When it translates, you've recorded it. Does it then go through an app that shows you that types it out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. See, that's what I was missing. That was a missing.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, beautiful. So, did you get that class dropped?
Yes, I did.
You go,
He was
girl.
unsuspended.
What?
It was bad. It was bad. He was not accommodating to me since day one.
All right. So, part of being a badass, peeps, is that you stand up for yourself and your needs. And
yeah,
really just that you really demonstrated that. Did that action of yours, did it affect you in any way moving forward with the rest of your time in school?
it did. It really taught me that no matter how much consistent you do, you will either get no result or you will get an result. And that was something I learned throughout school and in my life. At the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. Even if someone doesn't want to do it, but it's for your own self as well. So that's something I have to learn.
Good for you. So what's another example of doing what's best for you, even if somebody else doesn't think so?
So, for example, hopping on a podcast call, right? And I need a closed caption, and some people use different platforms. And, unfortunately, I have to have a closed caption, and I didn't realize how much I rely on it. Because sometimes I rely on my hearing aid. Some of you don't know, my hearing aid is Bluetooth, so it's like an earpod. So every time someone speaks to me, it goes directly to my hearing aid. And a lot of times I rely on two things, and that's something I didn't know. And I was like, oh no, I need a closed caption really bad, just in case if it's my background noise or somebody else's background noise, you just never know. And that was something I had to learn. But at the same time, I have to tell myself it's okay that you have all these needs.
Let's talk about that because a lot of times in my work, I'm a coach as well. That's this idea that it is okay for me to want what I want or need what I need can be really difficult for people to wrap their heads around for lots of reasons. What were some of the biggest reasons that you used to give yourself to hold yourself back?
I treat myself. That's the first thing I do. I go get my nails done, or I go get my bubble tea, or I treat myself to a sushi to hold myself up. Because at the end of the day, you are doing something for yourself. And I feel like some people need to understand the difference between want and need.
Why don't you explain it for us in your world?
Okay, for me, when you want something, it's something you want, like something that you can always get later down the road. But when you need something, you need it ASAP because it's something that you need. It's like a drug, right? When you need something, it's like a drug. You need this. I know I need closed caption. That's my addiction. But when you want something, you can always get it later.
Is there a component of when we need something, it's typically from someone else? Does that figure into the urgency or the power of that need? Is that it's that
Yeah.
you can't really
Mm-hmm.
yourself, so it sort of has.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. What are some? What have you noticed now that you're outside of post-secondary? What are some of the big aha moments that you've had as a non-hearing adult?
A lot of haha moments with when a lot of people didn't know I could drive. A lot of people think a lot of deaf people can't drive. Yeah.
Where does that come from?
I everyone I don't know. I remember one time it was summertime, it was hot, my hair was in a ponytail, and I got out my car and then some guy was like, oh, like, wait, you're deaf and you drive? I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? I didn't know that people can't drive. And he's like, oh, I mean, you can't hear though. I'm like, but I can see. So that was one of my haha moments. A lot of people be surprised when I start talking. So a lot of people think, oh my God, wait, I thought you only sign language. I'm like, no, I can do both. I can talk and do sign language. So a lot of people have this exception thinking that deaf people cannot speak only sign language. But realistically, deaf people can do both.
Fair enough. What do you think is missing? You're in Canada, I'm in Canada. A lot of my audience is in the States and worldwide, but I suspect the challenges could be very similar. What do you think is missing in our education system around disabilities?
I just feel like there's not enough topic in the school about disabilities. I feel like there should be a specific course to be talked about disability, especially for grade 9 to grade 12. And number two, when you do French class and then you do Spanish class and then you do English class, they give you option to learn different language, right? When you're in grade 10 or grade 11, they should also put in sign language in the curriculum as well, instead of just putting French and then Spanish. They should put sign language as well. I feel like that's what's definitely missing in the education system.
Yeah, good call out. I've often wondered, and there was a time when people were collecting for a charity, and their gift was was the American Sign Language alphabet. Tell us about working with youth today. What's the response been? You said earlier you were surprised. You weren't expecting your business to go so well. You weren't expecting the book to go so well. Tell us a little bit more about your business and what you're learning about yourself as you pursue this.
Yeah, for sure. So I am a coach, everyone. So I coach young adults with disabilities to specialize in mental health, anxiety, self-esteem, and advocacy. And I focus on positive psychology instead of negative psychology. I just help them achieve their goals from A to B. I don't talk about people's trauma or past just because not everybody feels comfortable talking about it. And that's what I noticed when I was starting my company. And it was just so rewarding to see youth be surprised that they have someone that looks like them and someone's not too off gap, age gap. I feel like because I can relate with them, I completely understand what they're going through. But I was just there. I'm only 27 and I'm not too far off from them. And for them to see someone that looks like them, represent them, it's just a rewarding for me because seeing that smile definitely keeps me growing. And it also taught me that there's not enough role models, especially in the disability community. It's very rare to see people out there interacting with different communities.
Yeah, you know what? You're so right. We just don't see enough of it. And it was interesting because the other day, my husband and I are watching TV. We watch a lot of British drama and crime. There is a show that we're now watching, and one of the main characters is deaf. And it was so interesting because my initial gut reaction was, oh my God, this is so awesome. And my husband's reaction was, wait a second, what? It wasn't so much that it was negative. It was just he was so surprised. And it sparked interesting conversation between us because sometimes he doesn't always understand what the character is saying. I wanted him to get really clear on what was niggling with him. And what it came down to was I just wasn't expecting it. I just wasn't expecting it. I'm like, well, guess what? There's deaf people in the world. There's lots of them and there's disabled. But it was just an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
So happy to see that. And I see it, to be honest, I see it much more in British television than I do in
America.
Canadian
Yeah.
television. And it's long overdue because the more we talk about it, the more normal it becomes. And it is normal. So we shouldn't even ever be qualified as not the norm. You know, we have a tendency to sort of highlight the perfect things. And it's one of the reasons why I'm a coach, because guess what, people, life ain't perfect. And that's okay, right? It's our uniqueness that makes us interesting, and it's our uniqueness.
Exactly.
Okay. Fast forward to today. You're a coach. You are a best-selling author. What's the most badass thing that you've done this week?
This week, I was able to close 5 clients for my second business. It is a virtual assistant business. So it's going to be underneath my company umbrella, so Kellina Empowerment. But I'm going to bridge it to coaching and my virtual assistant agency, where I'm going to actually be working with my assistant as well. So I was able to close 5 clients.
I'm giving you a high five because I'm self-employed. And you know what? Closing one client is a celebration for me. Closing 5 would be just the cat's meow. So congratulations on that. When are you launching the business?
I was supposed to launch it in September, but I'm traveling so much in September. So I have to do my launch and everything once I come back. So I would say end of September.
Okay. We look forward to that. Anything else on the horizon that you want to share with our audience today?
Yeah, I just say don't be afraid of being a badass woman or a man on here. At the end of the day, you have one life to live. Not everything is a promise tomorrow. Who knows when God's gonna call you home?
There you go, guys. Not every day is promised, but we can make a promise to ourselves that we can be our best, do our best, and really, if we are confused on what we like in life and who we are, take time to just take a breath and ask yourself the tough questions. And they may not even be that tough, right? But sometimes we don't even bother with that. So get to know yourself because I suspect that you're who you are deep down. It's pretty cool. So no matter what happens in life, guys, you can choose to be badass by putting yourself first. Kalina, thank you so much for taking some time out of your afternoon to chat with us and tell us a little bit more about what you've gone through. What you're doing is so important. I just want to say thank you for that because the world needs we need advocacy, right? Everybody needs to be heard.
Exactly. Thank you.
This has been The Art of Badassery. My name is Mahara. I want a special shout out and thank you to my guest today, Kellina Powell, for sharing her story. Check out the show notes, guys. Kalina, what's the best way for people to reach you? I will have it in the show notes, but can you tell us your website or the best way that they can contact you?
Yeah, for sure. Everybody can contact me through LinkedIn, Kellina Powell, and my website, kalinaempowerment.com. Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you next week on The Art of Badassery. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to another badass episode. Your support means the world to me. Heard today, don't forget to like, share, and rate the episode on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback keeps the badassery flowing. And hey, if you're ready to unleash your inner badass and conquer whatever life throws your way, why not book a complimentary badass breakthrough session? Just click the link in the show notes to schedule your session, and let's kick some serious butt together. Until next time, stay fearless, stay fabulous, and of course, stay badass. This is Mahara signing off.